clinical supervision as useful as possible for you.
Oh, okay. I'm not really sure about the whole thing. I've never done clinical supervision before.
Okay, so I want to make it clear from the outset that I'm here to help and guide you. We will be talking about your work in depth, but clinical supervision is not like supervision from your line manager. It's all about helping you reflect on your work and further developing your clinical skills.
Okay. How do we do that?
Well, you might find you want to talk about cases that you're finding difficult, cases that are a little bit unusual, or even cases that you feel you've handled really well. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to get out of these sessions?
Well, I'm pretty confident with my work. I suppose occasionally there are issues that I have trouble dealing with. It would be great to get a second opinion and get some different ideas about what I could do.
That's a great start. I've got some tools here that'll help you prepare for the sessions. Let's try a few and see how they work for us.
When you're setting expectations, you might also discuss the strengths the supervisor and supervisee will each bring to the sessions, specific areas the supervisee would like to develop, how the supervisee learns best. The Super Guide and associated e-learning modules can help you determine the supervisee's learning style, what has worked and what hasn't worked in clinical supervision in the past, and your availability outside formal clinical supervision sessions and where the supervisee can go for support and advice between sessions. There are many different models of clinical supervision for you to consider, so it's important that you agree on the model that will work for you and your supervisee. The Super Guide describes Kadushin's model with 3 interlinking functions of clinical supervision: educational, supportive and administrative. Read up on this model in the Super Guide to decide whether it will work for you. The regularity, length and content of your sessions may be dictated by the specific guidelines and recommendations of your profession, but the structure of your sessions will be unique to the needs of your supervisee. Will you meet in person or over the phone? Will reflective practice be a key component of your sessions? Will you play a more hands-on or hands-off role as a supervisor? Whatever you decide, it's important that the structure of your sessions meets the needs of your supervisee. Effective clinical supervision requires an environment of trust. Confidentiality is an essential component of this, and it should form part of the clinical supervision contract. Importantly, you should make your supervisee aware upfront that there are legal limitations to your confidentiality agreement, particularly in incidents of misconduct or adverse patient care.
Now, Tanya, I want you to know I'll speak to you before I report anything. Okay, does that seem fair?
Oh, definitely.
And I'll keep your paperwork in my locked files, and you'll have a copy, so I suggest you keep them somewhere safe as well. Tanya, I want to make sure you're getting as much benefit as possible out of these sessions, so we need to talk about how we're going to evaluate them.
Oh, you mean like feedback forms or something?
Oh, that's part of it. We also need to discuss how these sessions are working and reviewing what goes on.
It is useful to agree early on how you will evaluate the quality and effectiveness of your clinical supervision sessions over time. Regular reviews are the joint responsibility of both the supervisor and the supervisee. The Super Guide has a sample feedback form which you can tailor to suit your specific needs. Your ongoing evaluation should incorporate a regular, perhaps biannual, review of the clinical supervision contract and regular reflective discussion regarding the supervisory relationship itself. The agreed actions and outcomes of one-to-one sessions should be documented on a clinical supervision record form. Your LHD may already have established clinical supervision recording procedures, but if not, the Super Guide includes some helpful templates. Clinical supervision records are legal documents. It's important that you each read and sign the record at the end of each session, and each keep a copy for your own records. to document all of your expectations at the outset is to complete a clinical supervision contract. This is a document that outlines the parameters of the relationship, including the responsibilities of each individual. It is signed by both parties and forms the basis of the supervisory relationship. Copies should be kept by the supervisor, supervisee, and the line manager in a central file as a reference document. The Super Guide includes a template contract that you can modify and use for this purpose.
I've documented everything we've discussed today in this clinical supervision agreement and contract. In this section, I've noted that we've agreed to meet on a Tuesday fortnightly for around about an hour. This is your confidentiality agreement, and I've listed all the goals that we've discussed this morning.
Thanks. Just to clarify, we can change it along the way?
Absolutely. There's a section here that explains how either of us, what we can do if this supervisory relationship isn't working or if the contract's been broken. So are you happy with this agreement?
Yes. Thanks, Nicole. Okay, so I'll see you in a fortnight.
Great.
As well as describing your individual agreement, the clinical supervision contract should include any special requirements outlined in your LHD's Specialty Network's clinical supervision policy. By establishing this point of reference in your first session, both you and the supervisee will be better able to manage issues and concerns as they arise.
I'll just stop that from making noise. So what do you think worked well in that example?
I think it was good that they were trying to establish a structure, but I think from my point of view it was too structured.
Yeah.
Too many signatures, too many contracts, too much paperwork.
Yes. She's like, this is what I prepared earlier, and then you can sign this paper.
As well, and it's just too formal for me.
Yeah.
And plus, I think from a practical point of view, who's got the time to do all this?
Yes, that's right.
I think in theory it's fantastic, probably great if you have a mentor or